Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Storm Talk on this Friday, October the 6th. Finally, Friday, right? Time to get ready for the weekend. Enjoy some cool weather. Maybe make a pot of chili. Go see some pumpkins. Go see some haunted houses. Watch scary movies. Go to football games. There's a lot to do the next few days. And the weather overall is going to cooperate. It will just have a few, how do I word this? Annoying features that may come up from time to time. But if you're ready for them, which I'm hoping I'm going to solve that issue right now with you all. If you're ready for them, you'll be just fine, and you'll be able to enjoy the weekend without any worry whatsoever. So, as always, I'll try to go through this as much as I can. By the way, I'm Brian Good, in case you didn't know who I was. Maybe it's your first time here. Welcome. I'm meteorologist Brian Good with today's blog update, which sometimes it's just a blog update. Sometimes it's Storm Talk. Sometimes it is snow talk. Actually, much of the winter time, it is snow talk. Getting the graphics ready for that. In fact, you guys want to preview? Oh, they're about the same as last year. You ready? Let's see. Let me see if I can switch it on. Yes. Are you ready? Watch behind me. Ooh, don't y'all miss that. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? That is absolutely, as the kids say today, gorge. That is gorge. That is nice. But so don't rush it. Don't rush it. We don't want to get there too fast, right? Let's baby steps on that one. So we'll come back around. We'll circle back to that in the coming days and weeks ahead. We do have a setup this weekend, though, we need to talk about. It's mainly going to be about the wind more than anything. But there are other little minor things I want to bring to your attention. And then we'll get into the wild setup that still looks fairly wild for next week that I was talking about yesterday. Let's start with the live look down into E-Town. A little foggy still. We picked up generally about 0.3 of an inch of rain for most areas. Some of you a little lower to the south, a little more off to the north. It just kind of varied. The rain was kind of staggered as it ended last night. If you have a home rain gauge, let me know how much you picked up. Mine was about 0.35, I think it was, is what I had at the house, which is good because I wanted to get all my tropical plants outside. I wanted them to get a nice little drink of water. And then today I am bringing them inside because they will not be happy campers starting tonight because the cold weather arrives tonight. So make sure that if you do have your tropical plants out, if you haven't watered them yet, go ahead and get them ready and move them all inside, right? That's always a bit of a haul that we'll have to do every year. But it's worth it. But right now, it's just that foggy scenario from last night's rain. The sun is getting through in some areas. I saw a few peaks of blue sky even as I was coming in. So the drier air is trying to eat away at some of the low-lying moisture. You can see some of the moisture showing up. Most of what you see to the east that's moving is rain. What you see closer to the radar beam out to the west is actually just ground clutter from the radar beam because the sky is clearing there in the areas of southwest Indiana. So the sun's coming out roughly around Cincinnati, right along I-71. Louisville, seeing more of the blue sky poking through and all the way through about Breckenridge County. For those of you in Indiana, you are on the other side of the cloud shield, although you could still have some fog in some areas for this morning. Would you say, Tawana? You love your glasses. Thank you, Tawana. You're so sweet. Tawana never misses a vlog. I need to get her in here. She always hides from me. She's like, no. Oh, what? Wait a minute. Jessica is in here too. Jessica Dobson. I feel like there's some kind of a coup about to happen. Maroon is your color. Thank you, Jessica. Working with those two cracks me up. It's stressful. But it cracks me up. All right. So we are going to face the clearing trend today. Today will actually be a gorgeous day. Temperatures will make it into the 70s and we'll have a decent amount of sunshine. But there's one thing you got to keep in mind. Remember, I said it's going to get colder tonight. This atmosphere we have right now is not going to get us to that level. We need another front to push us back down to get to that cold setup. That front is already showing back into areas of Iowa and the northern Missouri. That is the front that is going to arrive roughly about 12 hours from now. As it does so, it could provide for some rainfall. Right now, the current atmosphere was pretty much stripped of a lot of rain and moisture in general, but this one will have a little bit of a kick to it. It's possible. It's more of just a very light sprinkle scenario. The big thing with this still looks to be the wind that will move in around, say, the 11 o'clock hour. Once again, here's just the NAM, high-res NAM. You can get the idea of the model output if you were to make the weather into a digital form as far as numerics. And here we go with the actual numbers that spit out. Let me point out, let's see, 'cause I'm trying to match my pen to what I'm seeing here, and that's not easy, especially my age. Okay, here we go with about 11 o'clock p.m. window. The front moves in roughly about this point. That's when the wind gust gets up there close to about 30 miles per hour, sustained about 15, gusts to about 30. So that's still holding true. It was about 11 p.m. yesterday for that passage at the front. That looks to be the case as it moves on through, and very dry air does move in. But notice, even as we head throughout the day on Saturday, there's not a whole lot of change in the temperature as far as getting any warmth. It's got to sit in 60 for 30 minutes maybe. Otherwise, we will have to deal with a gusty wind scenario throughout much of the daytime period as we head into Saturday. And most of the modeling, including actually the NAM, has got a decent amount of sunshine. Whoops, I'm not sure what's going on there. A decent amount of sunshine that breaks through. I'm not sold on that. Typically in this scenario, when you get cold air that moves in over a relatively wet ground, we've had recent rainfall, and you can still try to get enough sun angle to heat things up. You develop any kind of moisture that's still trapped above our head, roughly about 3 miles up, has no problem at all in developing what we call stratocumulus. And these are the more flat clouds that develop. Once they develop, you can get a very overcast sky. So it's a little misleading. It can start off tomorrow, certainly with a lot of sunshine. Then you're going to hit 12, 1 o'clock, overcast skies start to develop. And, hold on one second, got a spammer. I haven't had a spammer in a while. Oh, don't look at that. Why did it pop up? Sorry about that. All right, delete, block. Okay, got that. I may have just blocked one by accident. Nah, that's all right. So anyway, the cloud cover develops in the afternoon, and your wind is going to get strong, and the temperature will actually ease back a bit, and then the sky will clear back out again once we get into the evening. This is actually fairly reminiscent of thunder over Louisville. If you guys remember that day where we had some sunshine, and then the clouds formed in the afternoon, and it got windy and it got cold, it's fairly similar to how that plays out. So if you dress warmly, you're fine. So if you're heading to the Harvest Homecoming Parade, or you're heading to the football game, obviously, or you're heading out to Huber's, whatever the case is, it will be sunny. So when you're going out, you may not need to dress fully in all kinds of layers. But once that overcast tries to form, and it may not be in all areas, but in the majority of the area, I think will. Once that overcast sky forms and the wind picks up, you're going to create a wind chill. And if you are not wearing something to insulate you from that cold wind, you're going to be that one person shaking like, It's too cold. I want to go inside, or I want to get in the car. Don't be that one person. Be ready. Be prepared. Tell your friends. Be ready. And you know what? If you end up being in a spot where it doesn't become all the way overcast, just partly cloudy, this off and on sun will help warm you up. Or if you're dressed in layers, then just don't worry about the extra layer and you'll be just fine. So just be ready for that. And we may see a repeat again on Sunday with that, although I do not see as much moisture right now showing up on Sunday as what I do on Saturday. But both days really will be very similar on the idea that you're going to get a mostly cloudy sky once the sun has a chance to heat the ground up. I hope that all made sense. It's nothing major at all. It's just that it's a bit of a shock to the system because we haven't really experienced anything like that since April in our area. So I'll make sure you guys are ready for it. That's it. All right, so let's move on from that. Highs overall will be struggling. Much of the time will be 50s. Again, an hour or two, 60, 61, especially in the city. That's possible. And then you'll ease right back down again. Same stories we had into Sunday. Now, frost potential. Frost loves clear skies. Frost loves wind speed that is below 6 miles per hour, especially hopefully below 4. Calm is perfect, but it likes a very light wind because it needs that calmness to allow for what we call sublimination to happen, and you get frost to form on objects. Now, the environment for this setup, it is such a windy one, it's going to be tough for us to get a full-on calm scenario in all areas, especially Sunday morning. So really, again, the sheltered areas, the valleys, a little more at risk to experience that calmness, then therefore you get a chance to hit frost. Frost magic's number is roughly 36 degrees. So you can see where the modeling is already picking out in blue, where most of the valleys will be that have a better chance to see that. Now, the Weather Service has got a tough job because they're the ones that issue the frost and freeze advisories and alerts that you guys are so familiar with. How to draw that can be a challenge because if it doesn't cover, for example, I think you probably could draw one for all of central Kentucky and the bluegrass area of Kentucky, right? That would make sense. That's a lot of blue there. You get around Louisville and Indiana, it's a little more blotchy. It's hard to put an advisory out because places like the city of Louisville will not get to that level. So a bit of a challenge there. So I think that's why most of the time we just say patchy frost. But here's the thing. Sunday morning right now for the weekend features the best chance for this. Sunday night, Monday morning, we have another piece of energy moving in. It could also give us a few raindrops. It may also kick up the wind. So therefore, because it will increase the clouds, we've taken frost off the table here for Sunday night, Monday morning. But once that passes by, Monday night into Tuesday morning, keep up with me, we then run into another chance to get frost in the area. And you know what? I would not be surprised if this one for Tuesday morning ends up becoming the better opportunity out of all of them I just mentioned. It wouldn't surprise me one bit, because that's the trend I'm noticing is it's getting a little calmer on the wind field, a little clearer at the time. There's enough of a drop in temperature here to get us down to 36 in some areas. So there is a chance still to get some frost, even as we head back to work and school next week. So we'll watch it for you. Those of you that are worried about your sensitive and emotional plants, we'll be watching it carefully. All right. So that is the main setup for frost this weekend. And the gusty winds. And just FYI, the reason why we're getting such a windy scenario and cold scenario, it actually has a lot to do with Philippe, which is a tropical storm. Philippe is actually heading into Nova Scotia and becomes this massive low pressure into Quebec, Montreal area. So yes, it's a tropical storm that once again becomes colder and actually may have rain and snow involved with it on the northern side of the Great Lakes this weekend. So that's not uncommon for October. We've talked about before scenarios where hurricanes and tropical storms can eventually develop snow when they get in the higher latitudes. Philippe is a good example of how that will likely be. In fact, I think Philippe is going to cause more of a headache for Nova Scotia and the coast, northeast coast, than what Lee did. And Lee had all the drama because it was talked about for so long in advance. I think this one's probably going to cause more problems, and it's not getting enough attention. It's usually the way it goes. But why am I mentioning this one? Well, because the leftovers here of Philippe actually play a big role in how our system for next week is going to evolve. Because Philippe is now in a situation, the leftovers are into that area of Canada, that changes the ball game and the map layout for us next week. If we didn't have this feature, I think we would just generally warm up into the 80s next week again, another big warm spell. But because it's there, we now have a block that is set up to where anything that tries to come in from the south and west cannot go north. It has no choice but to go basically due east, if not southeast. It has to generally go around it and say, excuse me. So because of that idea, that is going to create a very tight wind gradient in between the two. when any system is passing by this low across Canada and then whatever develops in the plains, in between the two, which will likely be the Ohio Valley, there is going to be very much a traffic jam when it comes to pressure, and that's going to lead to a windy scenario for later next week. So I want you guys at least get that idea of the roadmap that I'm talking about, and now let me show you the model. Here's how we're going to advance this. Again, obviously, blue indicating colder than normal, yellows being a little warmer. We get into Wednesday. Here we go, Thursday. Now, this is where we're going to see a warm surge kick in. Here is the leftovers of Philippe. I just love saying the name. You got the tropical low, and yes, another tropical system, which, by the way, there is a hurricane that may be developing here in the Baja Peninsula, and then you're going to get a tropical system, which looks to be a separate thing here in the Gulf of Mexico, and then you've got low pressure moving through the Rockies, and then again, you have Philippe leftovers up there. That's a lot on a weather map. What we're thinking at the moment, I'm not worried about this feature here, this tropical feature. Philippe, not worried about it directly, although it's a cause to what's going to happen next. We need to focus our attention on the tropical low in the Gulf and this low pressure in the Rockies. Do they ever merge together? Or, as a trend I'm noticing, does the tropical feature speed up and try to hurry and get out of the way, which would then actually allow for this Rockies low, I feel like it needs a better name, the low pressure over the Rocky Mountains, that's better, will have a chance then to get pushed southeast and then head to the east. They'll have a tougher time going due east, depending on how this plays out. But there is some hint still looking at the modeling where this tropical system wants to try to get pulled in and absorbed into this low in the Rockies and becomes one big system as we head toward Friday the 13th. But the models are not quite there yet, but I wouldn't rule it out. So the game plan for now is we'll start off the week quiet. We'll get a warm surge at some point Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Friday the 13th, maybe. And I'm talking about warm, 70s and possibly some 80s will come back into play. Now, once we advance into Friday the 13th, you can see they kind of blend together a bit more with showers, maybe some thunderstorms moving into the area. A lot of potential heavy rain with this feature because, again, it's getting stuck in the Ohio Valley. Can't go north. It has no choice but to go through the Ohio Valley or a little more to the south. And I just don't know yet how much the tropical wave here, how much of that is going to influence the flow, because typically when you got something like that due south, you're going to block the flow coming up I-65. You're going to interfere with how much thunderstorm action you can get and heavy rain potential. All that can be a factor. But if this thing could speed out ahead in advance and try to scoot out of the way, then that would allow our main low here that moves to the Ohio Valley to perhaps be a bit stronger. But we need more time to iron it out. We're a week away from this. But what I can tell you is confidence is increasing that at some point Thursday into Friday the 13th, we're going to see an increase in rain, thunderstorms, and certainly gusty winds come into play. Once it moves on by, it's a cold wind. As we next Friday night into Saturday, cold, blustery air. Right now, this looks to still stay all rain. But there is a chance we could get partly sunny next weekend. So if you're worried about your plans next weekend, right now, most of the drama that I see with the system is Thursday, Friday. I'm not seeing as much Saturday and Sunday. So we may be able to salvage the weekend, but it will be another blustery, cold setup as we end next Saturday and Sunday there. All right. As far as severe weather goes, CSU has increased the probability for severe weather. In fact, now they put a black dot on the map where they think the gray's potential will be, and this will be for Thursday evening. And you can see it's got the black dot basically over Evansville, but it's got the yellow shade indicating the next level up, which would be, if you were to take it at a face value, would be probably like a slight risk type of ordeal. But it is showing the potential for some severe weather, and I can't rule that out, but we're way too early to know that. If it arrives at night, there's not going to be an issue on severe weather. It's going to be at the middle of the night. There's not enough heating, not enough fuel. If it arrives during the daytime on Thursday or daytime on Friday, maybe it will. And therefore, then we'll have to talk about severe weather. We can't answer those questions until more than likely Wednesday at the earliest. Sorry. So all I can tell you is that rain, wind, some thunderstorms, and then cold and blustery. That looks to be the storyline with this one. Nothing record-breaking here, but it is just an idea that we're getting a little more active than what we have been. All right, does that make sense? Everyone good? Highs in the 50s? Yes, highs in the 50s after the system. I think is likely. So we may go from the 80s into the 50s and 60s again. I don't know on frost either with this one, even though it's going to get cold. I don't know if it will get frost because, again, wind will be an issue. It's going to be windy for next week. Here's the snapshot of how this is overall starting to look. We'll fine tune this. Again, I'm seeing a little more of a shift on Thursday night, so we'll see if that is the case. But I can't rule out the idea that could be even delayed still on Friday the 13th. But I think Friday the 13th is definitely not going to escape some kind of weather issue happening on that day. And then we will dip, and then we'll see how long that dip lasts. It could last a little longer than the weekend, but we'll see if we bounce back from there. All right, there you go. See, that wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad, right? I know I make it sound worse than what it is, but I really it's because I'm detailed. I'm very detailed on what I see, and I want to make sure you guys understand the questions that I have. The challenges that are with these systems. I think it's important to talk about it, to be as transparent as possible. And why I always look stressed all the time. It's because we just can't figure it out far in advance, but boy, we want to. All right, any questions? Everyone good? Amanda, winter is coming. Winter is coming. All right, you guys seem good. All right, I don't see any issues. No major questions. Everyone looks good. All right, fair enough, guys. Tell you what, you all have a good and safe weekend. Dress in layers this weekend. Remember, the cold front arrives at 11 o'clock tonight. If you have wind chimes in your yard, you'll hear them go crazy as the wind pushes in. So it's going to be cold and blustery tonight. Certainly when you wake up on Saturday morning, you'll feel the difference. You will feel the difference. And the entire weekend will be that way. But for those of you that love this kind of weather, this fall weather, the pot of chili type of weather, wearing hoodies and long johns, whatever the case may be, this is a good setup for you this weekend. Have a good one. Stay safe. I'll have an update on everything, and of course, coming up today on midday at 11 a.m. And I will see you guys on the flip side.